Shine a national spotlight on a group of victims who have been forced, and I mean truly forced, into the shadows. Your stories are not featured in the news. You have no demonstrators taking to the streets on your behalf. You have no special interest taking up your cause. And the politicians ignore your cries for help. But I never will.
Donald Trump over the weekend in Houston giving what I think has been his best speech of the campaign, talking about the families who have lost loved ones to illegal aliens basically being in the shadows. As we continue with our political pulse, we tell you our immigration problems could get worse. According to recent reports, more than 800 immigrants from nations exporting terrorism were accidentally granted citizenship. Let's discuss it. Joining us with more, political commentator Allyn Root, Skyping in from Las Vegas. Wayne, of course, the author of Angry White Male, How the Donald Trump Phenomenon is Changing America and What We Can All Do to Save the Middle Class. Wayne, we always appreciate your time on Newsmax Prime. And now get this, DHS says they found that the immigrants used different names or birth dates when applying for citizenship. Those discrepancies were not caught because their fingerprints were missing from government databases. Now, these are people coming from nations that export terror. What was that Mr. Trump had to say about vetting, extreme vetting?
Well, that's the commentary I'm about to write. Donald Trump has been right about everything. And so, you know, when Donald Trump said we got to vet these people properly, it's got to be extreme vetting, he was right. This is the proof. When Donald Trump said you don't even want to let people into your country from Muslim terrorist hotspots, he was right. That's why the terrorist bombings in New York and New Jersey were an Afghan immigrant. That's why the knife attack in Minnesota was a Somali immigrant. You got to be careful who you let in your country. Donald's right. When Donald said we got to build a wall, he was right. Who's building a wall now, JD? Mexico is building a wall with their Central American neighbors to keep illegals out of their country. And who's paying for it? We always say Mexico won't pay for ours, but we're paying for theirs. Who's paying for the Mexican wall? Obama just sent $75 million in aid to help him build his wall. This is incredible. This is insanity. And last but not least, don't forget Donald said you're hearing lies from the government. The economy's horrible. And lately we've seen new statistics indicating the economy's horrible. And Donald said our jobs are all being sent away. What did we hear last week? Ford's sending all the jobs to Mexico to build all their small cars. So Donald Trump is right again and again and again.
And again, he points out a contrasting style with Hillary Clinton. For example, after this weekend's bombing in New York City, Donald Trump got off his plane in Colorado and said something immediately after learning of the attack.
But boy, we are living in a time, we better get very tough, folks. We better get very, very tough. Just happened. So we'll find out, but it's a terrible thing that's going on in our world and in our country. And we are going to get tough and smart and vigilant.
Now, the left started in giving him flack, saying Donald was too quick to judge. Your reaction to the response of the left?
Well, obviously, Hillary's reaction was to deny it was even a bombing, to deny it was even terror, and to never even suggest it has anything to do with radical Islam. They're crazy. I don't know what else to say. You know, I keep meeting liberals, JD, because I'm from New York, because I'm Jewish, because I'm Ivy League educated, because I'm in the political world and I travel in some elite circles. I keep running into liberals who say conservatives like Trump are crazy and liars and dangerous. And of course, I, as a conservative, look at Hillary and Obama and say they're crazy, they're liars, they're dangerous. And I guess that's the problem with America. We're so deeply divided that neither side can see anything in the other side that's true. I mean, I can't even listen to an Obama or a Hillary
But
speech.
You know, it's more
They're
than that.
Crazy.
I understand, Wayno, but the other thing that happens You think back to previous campaigns, like in 2008, there's Hillary saying, if the phone rings at 3 in the morning, who do you want on the other end? Well, I got to tell you, when Hillary came out to offer her response to the bombing, she was on her campaign plane, and quite frankly, it looked like she had been awakened. I don't know if she could answer that 3 a.m. call. Here's what she had to say after learning of the bombing in Chelsea.
Obviously, we need to do everything we can to support our first responders, also to pray for the victims. We have to let this investigation unfold. We've been in touch with various officials, including the mayor's office in New York, to learn what they are discovering as they conduct this investigation.
Hey, Hillary, wake up. You know, you see that and you hear that wait and see and caution. That's not the caution of sobriety in terms of we're going to wait for all the facts to come in. That was just lethargic. It looked more like her health thing is still a major question.
Yeah, look, Donald is Mr. Energy, and I know a thing or two about energy. I'm pretty high energy myself, and so are you, JD. I like high energy people. That's probably why you and I have always gotten along. I don't like low energy people, not to run a nation. They're not bad people, but you can't let them run a nation. I have nothing against a person that's sick. Eventually, we'll all die. We're all going to have illness, but you don't let a sick person run a nation. You have to be in perfect, tip-top physical and mental shape to run a country and be president of the greatest country in world history and commander of the greatest military and CEO of the greatest economy in world history. And Hillary Clinton is so clearly not that, but it's much worse than the low energy and the lethargic answers and the plain Jane kind of dull stare in her eyes. I think the real problem is she still can't say the words radical Islam and terror or terrorist in the same sentence, just like Obama can't. I want you to picture, JD, the bombing of Pearl Harbor. And I want you to picture FDR getting on the microphone on the radio, in those days, no TV, and saying to America to reassure them, we just got bombed by some people, because he didn't want to offend the Japanese by naming them. This is what's going on with Obama and Hillary. They can't name the enemy. The enemy is clearly radical Islam. Every terrorist attack is radical Islam, and letting more radical Islamists in our country is madness. And Hillary wants to extend what Obama's doing and bring in about 500,000 more Syrian refugees at a cost of $400 billion. This is madness and insanity at its finest.
It seems that out in Tinseltown, the Hollywood lefties are absolutely crazy for Hillary. The Emmys last night. I want you to listen to the creator of the series Transparent, Jill Soloway, and guess who she compares Donald Trump to. Listen to this.
So Jews were otherized in Nazi Germany to gain political power for Hitler, and right now Donald Trump is doing the same thing. He's otherizing people. He needs to be called out at every chance he gets for being one of the most dangerous monsters to ever approach our lifetimes. He's a complete dangerous monster, and any moment that I have to call Trump out for being an inheritor to Hitler, I will.
So there she was, post-Emmy Award at the press conference, in her moment of triumph, offering that type of message to the American people. Your take on that?
JD, liberals are sick people, as I said. It's a mental illness. I think it was Michael Savage who first said liberalism is a mental illness, but whoever said it was right. Liberalism is a mental illness, and it really is a problem for our country. We're not going to save this nation if Hillary's elected. We're not going to make it with a third term of Obama. Now, what has them so scared and so desperate is that the latest USC LA Times poll, in addition to showing Donald Trump with a 6-point lead nationwide, also shows that he's getting 19.6% of the black vote. Liberals are apoplectic. They don't know what to say. They don't know what to do. It's exactly what I predicted. The ultimate angry white male who wrote the book Angry White Male.
Yeah, it's funny. You never miss a chance to promote it. Hey, we got it.
I don't, but I always predicted that the combination that would win victory for Donald would be 40 million angry white males and an historically large black vote, because I always believed Donald Trump would appeal well to black Americans, and I predicted it would be 15 to 20%. People said, you're out of your mind. He was at 1% when I said that. Well, the latest LA Times USC shows He's at 19.6% black vote. That will put him over the top. And more importantly, Hillary's only in the low 70s. You cannot win an election as a Democrat if the black voter turnout is in the low 70s for a Democrat. You're done. So that's why they're so desperate and they're so hysterical. They're pulling out the Hitler references. They're pulling out the race card. They're mentioning the birther stuff. They got to dig up anything they can because they're so desperate.
And what you mentioned about the polls changing, a most opportune time to do that because a bit later in this program, pollster John Zogby comes in here to update the numbers even more. Allyn Root, not only with the numbers, but with powerful prose in his new book, Angry White Male. But he smiles right on. Thanks so much to Allyn Root. And we will continue. As I mentioned, John Zogby comes in to run the numbers on the race between Hillary and Donald Trump. That's coming up when we come back.